Hi guys, this is Charlotte Butler, the insurance lady.
And Rich Junker again.
Hey, today's video is going to be about medical bankruptcy. We're going to have a discussion about one thing in particular, and that's going to be cancer. Who do you know? First of all, who do you know that has cancer?
Who do I know that has cancer? I have a good friend who's been fighting it for about 5 years. And she's doing very well. And one of the great things that's happened for her is that her chemo treatments no longer entail losing her hair. That's a wonderful advance in quality of life, because attendant with cancer is, of course, lots of problems of survivorship, but just outright depression. But if you can at least have your hair, your dignity is one of the most important things you've got when you're fighting for your life.
That reminds me, many of you may not know that I spent my last 11 years as a respiratory therapist. I won't mention the hospital's name, but it's one of the top 10 oncology centers in the world on this planet. Now, other planets I don't know about, but on this planet, it's one of the top 10. And being a night shift respiratory therapist at an oncology center, I got a chance to sit at the bedside of the patients. And when you're a beautiful woman, and have always been, and your hair starts falling out, you have to remember there is one answer, and it's long dangling earrings. I would make that suggestion. They would have their family bring in the earrings, and the next day when I come into work and I would see that patient, oh my God, they were like, oh my God, look at my earrings, look at my earrings. But there is something about how you look and how you feel about yourself that is a component of healing.
Yes, it's true every day of our lives before cancer, so even more important once we're fighting this scourge.
You have a way with words. Now, when you're diagnosed with cancer, who are the two people that you need to contact?
Well, I think anybody in our audience would agree a medical specialist would be a pretty good person to start with, but not so commonly a second person would be a money manager.
A money manager?
Yes. It's perhaps intuitive to some extent, but cancer is a very expensive ailment. As I understand it, about half of all bankruptcies are driven by medical expenses. And credit card balances similarly, a great percentage. A half, I don't know, but obviously you can see a couple $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 hits for surgeries and medications and so forth can wipe out the aggregate of your credit card balance.
Yes.
Available cash.
Well, there are expenses that people don't consider unless you're in it. You don't even really realize. For example, a ramp to your home, or to get into your bathroom. You have to have your bathroom rebuilt to take a shower because you're too weak, or you may have some kind of amputee because of the cancer. And even the medications. I know a young lady who's fighting cancer, and there's an experimental drug that's available. If you have the money. If you have the money for the experimental drugs. I mean, she's getting the best care she can get with what she has, but there are experimental cancer drugs that can turn your illness around. And that's something we don't consider.
The longer you succeed in your battle with cancer, the more exposure you have to expenses. You live for 3 years, you live for 4. There's another test that comes after you're in remission, it comes back. Those expenses cause, it's something called financial anxiety.
Financial anxiety.
And that leads to depression, which doesn't help you a great deal in recovering from your cancer. As I understand, of people who go through bankruptcy in the course of their treatment, they have an 80% higher probability of dying of cancer than the people whose finances survive the ordeal, which can span a decade. Get
That
cancer,
is-
recover, get it again.
Did it again, that's right. That reminds me of, I have a soft spot for any healthcare workers because I've been in healthcare for 25 years. One of my insurance clients was a nurse, a surgery nurse, and I absolutely love PACU nurses. They are special people with, along with ER nurses and ICU nurses. But a
PACU nurses?
PACU, any kind of, when you get out of surgery, that person between the operating room and the ICU, there's a holding center, a recovery.
Ah.
And each hospital calls it something different. But that recovery nurse, or PACU nurse, is very special to me because she makes sure that when you get out of surgery, she gets you off the fence into a stable status. Okay, so I had a client who was a surgery nurse, and you know that's a pretty good job, a decent salary, and with your salary you have a decent lifestyle, and it actually, her cancer bankrupted her, and it was spilling over into her family, not just her household, but her immediate family, like her sister's daughter, her husband's family members. It affects everybody and we don't realize it.